Welcome to the Chronicles of a Cheating Wife channel. A new story every day. Don't forget to subscribe. You've changed. I say it out loud, even though my throat tightens the moment the words leave my lips. I'm not sure which one of us I'm trying to convince, her or me. Outside the window, the sky is overcast, and a faint rumbling of thunder lingers somewhere beyond the horizon. It's late afternoon, but our house feels submerged in that dim, gray light that makes everything look half real. My wife, Julia, stands a few steps away, near the kitchen table, her arms folded across her chest. She's still in her office clothes, a dark skirt, a white blouse with the top button undone. I look at her and wonder who she's become. I'm aware of the tension coiled in my shoulders. Every muscle in my body is rigid. Months, maybe years, have led to this. And yet, this confrontation spills out in a single sentence. You've changed. The words hang in the air, like a slow blade between us. She stares at me, the faint lines around her eyes deepening. Her lips are parted, as if to speak, but no reply comes. There's a silence that isn't peace. It's the hush before an explosion. I breathe in, letting the silence close around us. The memory of the night before still lodges in my mind like a steel shard. The hallway, the door left ajar, the shadows moving on the bedroom walls, the low sound of muffled breath, and then his voice. Michael's, someone I hardly knew, or maybe never wanted to know. My name is Ethan, and for a long time I thought trust could shield me. I've learned trust is more like a weapon. It can defend, or it can impale you in the back. Last night, it impaled me. I can still see them, half-clothed and pressed against each other, their bodies entwined in that primal rhythm. I caught only a glimpse before a wave of disbelief washed over me. I had come home early, feeling restless, and on edge, only to find the lights too dim, the front door not quite locked. At first, I thought it might be my daughter rummaging for a late snack, or my wife simply enjoying some private time. Until I heard a husky laugh that wasn't hers. I stepped closer, feeling my heart hammer. I know the shape of my wife's body by heart, every subtle curve, and I recognize her silhouette in the bedroom. There was no doubting the reality of it. The heat and the closeness, the small gasps, the sudden hush when my foot landed on a creaking floorboard. The hush that told me everything I needed to know. I didn't scream. I didn't swing my fists. I froze, and then I vanished. Down the hallway, out the back door, barefoot onto the patio. The night air was cold and wet. I stood there, shaking, staring up at the silent stars, wanting to tear the entire sky apart. My mind felt as though it had been jarred from a half-coma, memories fluttering back. There was a time, 10 years ago, when I lost track of who I was after a car accident, lying in a hospital bed, tubes in my arms, the world reduced to beeping monitors and sympathy I couldn't understand. The coma had stolen months of my life, left me with a limp and a swirl of lost recollections. In that single instant last night, the same emptiness engulfed me again, a sense that I didn't know who I was or what life I was living. And then, when I finally managed to breathe again, I realized I was a man who just watched his wife with another man. This morning, I confronted her with the simplest line I could muster. You've changed. But behind those words is an avalanche of disbelief, anger, and some twisted sense of guilt. Guilt, because a dark corner of my heart whispers that maybe I should have known. Maybe I pushed her away. Maybe I wasn't the husband she needed, especially after I struggled with my memory. Maybe I never fully came back from that coma. I don't know, but the illusions are crumbling. And the man I see in the mirror is a stranger. You left the house last night, Julia says finally, her voice barely louder than the hum of the fridge. You didn't say anything, Evan. Why did you? Why did I what? I snap, surprising myself with the harshness in my tone. Stick around to watch. Was I supposed to politely clear my throat, remind you that I'm the husband around here? She flinches. It's subtle, but I see it. Her arms drop to her sides. Let me explain. But I don't want an explanation about how it just happened or how she couldn't help it. I can't bear to hear that brand of confession. My body trembles, my fist clenches around the back of a chair. I look at her face. There's still that perfect line of makeup. She must have woken up, showered, dressed for work, carefully covering her tracks, except no track stays hidden forever. My voice is low, unsteady. I saw you. I saw him. I don't need words. I'm sorry, she says. I'm so sorry. No, don't. My chest is tight. I can't breathe. The thunder outside rolls a little closer, and the entire house feels like it's waiting. Don't stand there and tell me you're sorry. I can't. She tries to move toward me, but I hold up my hand. There's a rawness in my eyes that makes her hesitate, and now her own voice threatens to snap. You left me behind, Ethan, she blurts out, eyes flashing. For months. No, for years. Do you have any idea what it's been like? I tried to be patient after your accident. I tried. I slammed my fist on the table, causing a stack of mail to spill to the floor. Be careful, I say, my voice trembling. Don't you dare turn this around on me. She opens her mouth to protest, but no sound comes. In that second, she looks lost, like a cornered animal. Then she rubs her palm across her forehead. Ethan, let me talk. Please. When I don't answer, she continues, her words tumbling fast. I love you, or I did. But after you came out of the coma, you weren't the same. You were always locked inside your head. You forgot our plans, our life. Day by day, I felt you drifting. I tried to anchor us. God, I tried. But you built this wall around yourself. And I got lonely. I got scared. I grit my teeth, not sure how to handle the stabbing guilt that surges within me. Somewhere, a memory surfaces, me in a wheelchair, painfully trying to remember how to spell my own name. I recall glimpses of her face, hovering over me, forced smiles that never quite reached her eyes. Maybe a part of me shut down, retreating from the sense of failure. Maybe that's how she drifted into another man's arms. But the image of her with him, Michael, burns in my mind like a hot brand. That doesn't justify what you did. Nothing justifies it. She presses her lips together. Her chest rises and falls with breath that seems shaky, like she's on the verge of tears. No, it doesn't. But you have to know I never meant to hurt you. Hurt me. That's an understatement. Rage flares, but it comes out in a low whisper. Who is he? Julia glances away. He's just a friend from work. He understands the pressure I'm under. He listens. I laugh, a short, bitter sound. He listens. That's all it takes. My head swims, and I close my eyes. I see a flicker of memory, me flipping through old notebooks, trying to jog my mind with lists of people, places, dates. She used to help me with that. She used to hold my hand. Now she's turned her hand to him. The sense of betrayal is suffocating. God, Julia, I say, my voice trembling. I gave you everything left in me. She turns away, and for a moment, I see the tension in her posture. She tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, but it keeps slipping forward. Her wedding band glints under the overhead light. Ethan, she whispers, I don't know who we are anymore. That statement hits me like a gut punch. I don't either. I thought she was my wife. I was her husband, and we had our daughter, our life. Now in some cruel twist, all that is uncertain. The memory of last night, of her body arching under Michael's touch, is too vivid. I swallow hard, forcing my thoughts back to the present. I have to pick up our daughter, she mumbles finally. She's at a friend's place. We'll talk more tonight. She quickly gathers her purse, keys, phone, as if escaping a crime scene. There's a panicked look in her eyes, and in a single moment, she steps forward and tries to place a hand on my arm. I know how angry you are. But please, Ethan, don't do anything rash. You're hurt. I know. Just let me. Just go, I say, pulling my arm away. We'll talk. Or not. I feel almost numb, like every nerve is raw. She stares at me for a second longer, then turns and leaves. When the door closes, the house breathes a hush. I notice the smallest details: the ticking clock, the half-empty cup of coffee on the counter, the slight drift of dust in a beam of cloudy light. I open my mouth as though to call her back, but nothing comes. My hands shake. Anger swirls in my gut, though it's laced with something that feels suspiciously like heartbreak. Trust is a weapon, and right now I'm bleeding from it. I slump into a chair, press my palms to my eyes, and try to gather my scattered thoughts. At one point last night, after seeing them, I ran barefoot outside, onto the balcony. Rain had just stopped, and the air was thick with that electric tension before a storm truly breaks. I felt the cold concrete under my feet, felt my heart hammer in my chest, felt an urge to roar or break something. Instead, I ended up writing. I keep a small notebook in my pocket these days, scribbling lines whenever nightmares or half-remembered images strike. Last night, I wrote a sentence. You're free, but now you're not my choice. Never again. Maybe it was a way of regaining control, putting words where my heart could only scream. That sentence lingers in my mind now. Is that what I want? To let her go? My phone vibrates, jolting me. I glance at the screen and see a name. Michael Hayes. My mind seizes. Apparently, we share more than I realized. He has my wife, and now he's found my phone number. The text reads, "Let's talk. I know you hate me, but let's settle this." My chest tightens with an urge to fling the phone across the room. Instead, I stand up abruptly, pushing the chair back with a harsh scrape. The entire world feels unsteady, like the ground might open beneath me. I head to the bedroom, the scene of the crime. There the bed is made. The lingering smell of her perfume clings to the air. The curtains are half drawn, letting in grayish daylight. As I walk around to her side, I notice, on the nightstand, a rumpled piece of fabric, a pajama top that isn't mine. I pick it up. The words, "My beloved," are scrawled in permanent marker across the chest. The penmanship is bold, different from Julia's neat script. A pang of fresh anger stabs me. This is old, well-worn, something she's had for a while. Meaning she's been sleeping in it, maybe on nights I was too lost in my own nightmares to notice. I throw it on the bed as if it's a venomous snake. A swirl of questions flood my mind. How long has this been going on? Was I so oblivious? Did she wear it even when I was right here, asleep a few feet away, drifting in and out of restless dreams? It makes me sick. But I don't scream. I don't break anything. Instead, I stand there, fists clenched, eyes burning with tears I refuse to shed. If anything, I'm done being the clueless man who doesn't know who he is. I'm done letting the past define me. I take my phone and scroll back through old pictures, old messages. I find a single photo, Julia and me on a sunny day in the yard, my arm around her waist, her face turned up to me, laughing. It was taken months after my accident, back when I was learning to walk with a cane. I remember that day. I'd felt hope, or so I believed. Looking at it now, I wonder if she was just trying to mask her loneliness, if the fracture in our marriage had already begun. My finger hovers over the phone screen. Michael's message stares at me like a dare. Let's talk. My blood simmers. Without letting myself overthink, I tap the phone and dial him back. He picks up almost instantly, like he was waiting. "Ethan," he says, voice cautious, "I'm glad you called." "Listen." I cut him off. "Shut up. You're not glad. You're a coward with a decent suit and a perfect smile. You talk about settling this. There's no settlement for what you did." He exhales, and I hear tension in his breath. "You don't know me, Ethan. And I don't want to escalate anything. Julia said you found out, and you have a hell of a nerve texting me." I snarl. Stay away from my house. Stay away from my daughter. Do you understand? He's quiet a second. Then his tone shifts, becoming oddly calm. I understand you're upset, but I need you to hear my side. I almost laugh. Your side? You and I have no sides. You're the guy who's been screwing my wife. That's your side. End of story. A pause. Then he says, Ethan, for what it's worth, it wasn't meant to happen this way. Julia's going through a difficult time. You were distant. She needed something. I offered it. That's reality. That's life. I clench the phone so hard my knuckles ache. That's betrayal, I say quietly. I don't care about your rationalization. Don't text me again. I end the call, chest heaving. The empty bedroom stares back at me. Outside, the thunder grumbles, closer now. I run a hand through my hair, feeling the anger shift into something more corrosive, shame. Because part of me wonders if I should have fought harder for her, or maybe I should have recognized the quiet signals. The nights she stayed late at the office, the subtle distance in her eyes when we talked, the arguments over my writing schedule, my inability to be fully present. As the minutes pass, I replay Michael's words in my head. She needed something. I offered it. Like a savage punch, it hits me again. She chose him to fill that gap. Trust is a weapon. She turned mine against me. Now I'm standing here alone, reeling, not knowing who I am anymore. Hours pass in a haze. The storm finally breaks, and rain hammers the windows. I pace the living room, noticing the photographs on the mantel. Family trips, smiling faces. My gaze lands on a small portrait of me in the hospital, from the time I could barely stand. Julia insisted we mark each step of my recovery. She used to beam with pride every time I managed to remember a new detail about our life together. Maybe that was pity, or maybe it was genuine love. At this point, I can't tell the difference. Eventually, the front door opens. Julia steps in, drenched from the rain, my daughter behind her. My daughter is old enough to sense the tension. She's 13, but her wide, uncertain eyes seem younger right now. I manage a weak smile, ruffling her damp hair as she passes me. She glances between us, her expression pinched, like she wants to ask what's going on but doesn't dare. Then she hurries upstairs, disappearing into her bedroom, leaving Julia and me alone again. Julia sets down her purse, looking exhausted. Water drips from her jacket onto the floor, forming a small puddle. She looks at me and opens her mouth, but no words come. The silence is thick. I walk to the kitchen, mindless, searching for a glass of water, but my hands tremble, making the water slosh over the rim. Ethan, she says quietly, we can't ignore this. We have to talk. I steel myself and nod toward the living room. She follows me in, and we stand by the window, watching the rain swirl across the glass. It feels like we're in a fishbowl, the outside world distant and distorted. She tries to reach for my hand, but I draw back. A flicker of hurt crosses her face. I'm sorry, she murmurs again. I know that word doesn't mean much right now, but I do mean it. She hesitates, biting her lower lip. Michael, he texted me, said you told him never to come near our family. Thank you for that. I scoff softly. Don't thank me, Julia. I didn't do it for you. I did it because he doesn't belong in this house. She exhales, nodding. Right. Of course. Neither of us sits, as if we're waiting for the other to break the tension. Finally, she speaks, choosing each word carefully. I need you to understand. When you got hurt, I thought I'd lose you forever. Even after you woke up, it felt like a huge part of you stayed lost. You'd stare at me like I was a stranger. I tried to be there for you. I did. But I felt like you built this fortress around your pain. You wrote in that damn notebook of yours. You typed away on your laptop. But you rarely let me in. I swallow hard. Part of me wants to defend myself, to shout. I was trying to heal. But I keep silent, letting her words cut me. I was lonely, she whispers, tears threatening in her eyes. And then Michael showed me attention I hadn't felt in so long. It was never about him being better than you. It was about me feeling alive again. Each sentence is a new stab, but I force myself to remain calm. A swirl of conflicting emotions churn in my chest. Heartbreak, anger, shame, guilt. So you never planned to leave me? I ask, almost afraid of the answer. She shakes her head vigorously. No, God, no. I wanted to keep our family together. But I was weak, I guess. Selfish. I wanted to fill the void. A bitter laugh escapes me. You filled it, all right. She flinches, tears escaping down her cheek. Don't say it like that. How else should I say it? I shoot back, voice trembling. I saw you with him, Julia. I'll never unsee that. She presses her hands to her face, sobbing quietly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Silence descends again, except for the hammering rain. I look at her, the woman I once cherished, and I search for the slightest glimmer of the person I believed in. Maybe she's still there, buried under the lies and guilt. But the betrayal is raw. I try to speak, but the words knot in my throat. Suddenly, my daughter's voice drifts from the stairs. Mom. Dad? What's going on? Her tone is hesitant, scared. We both spin to see her standing in the hallway, hugging a small stuffed cat she's had since she was little. Julia wipes her tears, tries to compose herself. It's okay, honey. We're just talking. My daughter steps closer, glancing at me with big worried eyes. You two are yelling. Are you? Is everything? I force a gentler voice. We're figuring things out, sweetheart. Don't worry. Go do your homework. We'll talk soon, I promise. She hesitates, looks at her mother, then slowly turns away and heads back upstairs. I watch her go, my chest aching with a sense of failure. Whatever happens now, she'll be caught in the crossfire. I can't stand that. I turn back to Julia. She looks drained. We should talk later, when she's asleep, I say. I can't. Not in front of her. Julia nods. All right. That night, the house is quiet. Our daughter is in bed, or at least in her room with the door shut. I linger in the living room while Julia paces upstairs. I'm thinking about the older memory of a dream I had not long after the accident. In that dream, Julia led me and our daughter into a strange house, introducing us to two children, Jenny and Tom, calling them our son and daughter. But we only have one child. Yet in the dream, I saw them, smiling politely, while my daughter's fingers trembled in fear. And on Julia's pajamas, a marker scrawl read, "My beloved." It all felt too real, too haunting. I exhale, stepping into the hallway, noticing a faint light under the master bedroom door. When I enter, Julia is sitting on the edge of the bed, her face drawn. She looks up at me, wiping at fresh tears. I remain standing near the doorway, arms crossed. Talk, I say quietly. She glances at her hands. I never wanted it to blow up like this, Ethan. In my mind, it was always going to be temporary, I guess. A distraction from how empty I felt. But I see now how badly I've hurt you. She swallows. I don't even know if you can ever forgive me. I stare at her, the woman I once would have died for. Forgive you, I echo. You know, for a moment, I almost thought I died that night in the accident, and this is some twisted afterlife. Because nothing makes sense anymore. I don't know who I am, or who you are. She stands, stepping closer. I'm Julia. I'm the same woman who kissed your forehead every morning when you were in the hospital. The woman who prayed you'd wake up. Maybe I failed you after that. I admit that, but I'm still me. The question is, are you still you? That question blasts through me. I'm trying. I manage. I'm trying every day to remember who I was, who we were, but you didn't wait. She flinches, tears dripping. No, I didn't. Silence. My heart beats heavily in my chest. Outside the window, the rain has slowed to a whisper. She reaches out a trembling hand to touch my arm. I stare at it, at her delicate fingers, once so precious to me. Part of me wants to brush her off, to storm out. Another part wants to sink to my knees and weep for everything we lost. Finally, I take a step back. Let's be clear, I say in a strained voice. I'm not sure where this leaves us. Right now, I can't even look at you without seeing him. And I sure as hell can't look at our bed. God, Julia, do you realize what you've done? She covers her face, tears seeping through. Yes, I do. And I hate myself for it. I let the moment hang there, my mind swirling. I can't pretend this is normal, or that we can just fix it. I feel like you've torn a hole in something that can't be sewn back together. She sobs softly, nodding. I know. The next day comes, and I barely sleep. Morning light spills into the bedroom, but I've spent most of the night on the couch, reliving the same images over and over. My daughter leaves early for school. Julia hovers around the kitchen, uncertain. We speak only when necessary. Then she heads to work, and I'm left alone with my thoughts. I decide to do something I haven't done since the accident. I pick up an old journal, scanning through passages from years ago. Bits of memory flicker, and I scribble new lines, trying to shape my rage into words. At some point, the dryness in my chest becomes suffocating, and I write a letter. In the letter, I pour out everything. The sense of betrayal, the guilt, the ache, the fact that I refuse to continue this way. I end it with a stark line. You are free. But now you're not my choice. Never again. I sign it with my name, folding the paper carefully. Something in me lifts, like I'd allowed my anger to crystallize. Maybe this is my revenge. A quiet withdrawal of my devotion. A final condemnation. She can have Michael, or she can have emptiness. But she can't have me. Not like before. Trust, once broken, doesn't mend overnight. I leave the letter on her pillow. That afternoon, I sit on the balcony again, barefoot, feeling the breeze on my skin. The weather is calmer now, but the air is still heavy, reminding me of storms yet to come. Julia arrives home, and I hear her footsteps in the hall as she goes to the bedroom. I remain outside, leaning on the railing. Below, the neighbor's yard is quiet. A lawnmower sits abandoned. Across the street, an old man stands by his mailbox, checking letters. Life goes on, indifferent to my turmoil. Then I hear Julia's voice drift from the bedroom. She calls my name. I don't answer. My chest tightens. I close my eyes, imagining her finding the letter. I wonder what expression crosses her face, whether she's crying or furious, or maybe numb. When she finally appears at the balcony doorway, her face is pale, eyes wet. You remembered everything, she says softly, gripping the folded letter in her hand. You wrote it, the same way you used to write those short stories in your notebook. You remember how you used to sign them. I shrug, still looking out at the street. Yeah, I remembered enough. She stands there for a few moments, the silence thick. Ethan, do you mean this? Are you really done with me? I press my lips together, my heart hammering. I don't know, I say after a moment. But I mean it when I say you're free. I won't force you to stay, not if you want him, or whatever else it is you need. But if you think we can just go back to normal, you're wrong. I don't want to pretend anymore. She steps closer, setting a hand on the back of the chair beside me. Her voice is quiet, almost hollow. You don't understand. Michael was never someone I intended to build a new life with. I just wanted to feel alive. But if I have to choose, I hold up a hand, cutting her off. I'm not giving you a choice. I'm telling you I can't live with half your heart. Maybe I never had the other half, but I can't accept a fraction. She swallows, tears glistening on her lashes. I made a horrible mistake. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I don't want to lose you. I can't see life without you. My jaw tightens. You should have thought of that before you brought him into our bed. Her shoulders slump. The wind rustles her hair. She looks so defeated that a surge of pity rises in me, warring with anger. If I could undo it, I would, she says. But I can't. I only have now and the future. I let out a ragged sigh. Then prove it, I whisper. If you want a future with me, you'll have to prove it. And it won't be easy. God knows I don't even trust myself anymore, let alone you. She closes her eyes, tears falling. I'll do whatever it takes. We stay like that for a while, neither speaking. Just two broken souls in the quiet. Trust is a weapon. She used mine against me. Now, if we are to find any path forward, it'll be a slow, agonizing process. And I still don't know who I am anymore, or if I'm capable of loving her the way I once did. Maybe that man died in the accident. Maybe I never recovered. All I know is that the pain is real, and it's lodged in me like a splinter in the bone. Days pass, and life trudges on. I go through the motions, checking on our daughter, scribbling in my notebook, occasionally fielding freelance writing assignments. Julia tries to show me she's serious. She cuts off all contact with Michael, or so she claims. She hands me her phone at times, letting me see her messages, letting me see that he's blocked. She tries to talk to me about counseling. She begs me to share my struggles from the accident, the memory lapses, the nightmares. I stand there, listening, feeling a numb ache in my chest, not sure if I want to open up or if I can. One evening, after my daughter is in bed, Julie approaches me in the living room, wearing that old t-shirt of mine she used to borrow years ago. The sight of her in it stirs conflicting emotions. She sits on the couch beside me. "We need to talk about what happened to you," she says gently. "You've never told me what it felt like, coming out of that coma. You only wrote about it. Let me in, Ethan. Let me understand." I swallow hard, looking at my hands. "Why now?" "Because I failed you before," she admits. "If there's any chance for us, I need to know you, really know you." My throat feels tight. I drag a shaky breath. It's not pretty. I warn her. I don't like talking about it because every time I do, I feel weak. She sets a hand on my knee. "I can handle it. Please." So, haltingly, I begin. I talk about the hospital, the fluorescent lights that buzz like wasps, the disorientation of not recognizing my own reflection, the rage that filled me when doctors asked me basic questions about my name and address, the way words would scatter in my mind like marbles on a tile floor, and how helpless I felt. She listens, tears glimmering in her eyes, but she doesn't interrupt. When I finally stop, exhausted from reliving it, she squeezes my hand. "I'm sorry I wasn't there the way you needed," she whispers. "I see now that you bottled it all up to protect me. But maybe I needed to see your pain." Her words strike a chord. A tear slips down my cheek, something I swore I wouldn't let happen. It's still there, I admit brokenly. Sometimes I don't trust my own memories. I wonder if anything is real. She leans closer. "We can make it real again, if we try." I close my eyes, letting her warmth soak into my side. I don't know if I can fully believe her, but a small part of me wants to. At least for our daughter's sake, for the family we once tried to build. Yet the next morning, doubts return with a vengeance. I recall the vision of her with Michael, the lost way she moaned his name, the brazen intrusion on everything sacred. My anger resurfaces, like a wave pounding the shore. I snap at her for no reason while making breakfast, and she retreats quietly, understanding that this will be a long road. More weeks pass, and it's like we're stuck in a purgatory. I'm not sure if I can forgive, but I haven't walked away yet. My daughter senses the tension but doesn't know the details. She just sees me sleeping on the couch some nights, sees the forced smiles between her parents. Julia tries to talk about counseling again. I waver. Part of me hates the idea of sharing my intimate pain with a stranger, but maybe it's the only chance to salvage what's left of my soul. Then one evening, everything erupts again. The storm outside has returned, thunder rattling the windows. I'm sitting in the living room when my phone buzzes, showing a new text from an unknown number. The message is from Michael. I need to see you. We're not finished. Fury surges in my chest. I stand abruptly, storming into the kitchen where Juliet is preparing dinner. I hold up the phone. He's still reaching out. Care to explain? She looks horrified. I didn't tell him to. I swear. I throw the phone onto the counter. Then how does he have my new number? I changed it 2 weeks ago. Tears spring to her eyes. I don't know. I promise, Ethan, I haven't spoken to him. The anger crackles between us like static. Stay out of this, I hiss, ignoring her plea. I snatch the phone again, typing a quick reply to Michael. I warned you. Keep pushing, and I'll make you regret it. He responds almost instantly. She's not yours anymore. Wake up. A red mist blurs my vision. I spin to Julia. He's taunting me. She looks stricken, dropping the spatula with a clatter. Ethan, don't do anything stupid. Just block him. I can't calm down. The blood roars in my ears. He wants to get a rise out of me. Well, he's got it. I storm toward the front door, grabbing my coat. Julia rushes after me. Where are you going? My voice is low and dangerous. To end this, she tries to stop me, but I pull away. Outside, the rain lashes down in sheets, soaking me instantly. I jump into my car, start the engine, ignoring the voice in my head that warns me about my limp, my shaky memory, my unpredictable rage. I'm in full-blown fight mode. As I drive through the wet streets, headlights blur and reflect in wide arcs. My wipers frantic. I don't know where Michael is, but I suspect I can find out. He once told Julia about a bar he frequents in downtown Seattle. With reckless determination, I aim the car in that direction. My phone buzzes again. I glance at the screen. Michael. Let's meet at the old dock near the pier. Guess that's as good a place as any for a showdown. My heart pounds, adrenaline surging. In the back of my mind, there's a voice that says this is insane. But I ignore it. I recall the humiliating sight of him with my wife, the raw sound of her moans, the smell of betrayal. I want closure in one form or another. When I pull up by the pier, the rain has lessened to a cold drizzle. The water of the bay laps against the wooden pylons, and a pale moon struggles through the clouds. I spot a lone figure under a flickering lamp, wearing a dark coat. That must be Michael. I step out of the car and walk toward him, each step aggravating the old injury in my leg, reminding me of the limp from the accident. But I press on, fueled by anger. He watches me approach, hands in his coat pockets. He's about my height but more muscular, exuding that confidence I've always hated. Ethan, he says, nodding. Thanks for coming. Cut the crap. I snap, stopping a few feet away. You have a death wish, texting me again. He shrugs. I just wanted to say my piece, face to face. You can't blame me for Julia's actions. You were the one who pushed her away. My breath seizes, a wave of raw fury making my pulse hammer. Don't you dare pin this on me. He lifts a hand, as if to calm the situation. But he's smirking. Ethan, you couldn't give her what she needed. You let her rot in that lonely marriage. I stepped in. That's how the world works. I feel my teeth grind so hard my jaw aches. You son of a... Without warning, I shove him. He staggers back a step on the wet pier, but regains his balance, a sneer curling his lips. Easy there, he says, voice low. You want to fight me. If you do, just know I won't hold back. Some primal part of me wants exactly that. Wants to pummel him into the water, break his smug face for every stolen moment he had with my wife. But a memory flickers. The day I regained the ability to walk. The day I promised myself I'd never let rage control me again. Rain trickles down my brow, stinging my eyes. My breath comes in ragged bursts. You're not worth it, I manage to hiss. He stares at me. Then leave her, he says. If you can't be the man she deserves, walk away. She's still talking about saving your marriage, but we both know it's broken. My hands clench into fists. Stay away from her, or so help me. Or what? He taunts, stepping closer. You'll limp over and smack me. You know, I almost pity you, Ethan. You don't even know who you are anymore. That last phrase triggers something in me. It's like an echo of my darkest fear. I lunge. My fist connects with his jaw before I even realize I've moved. Pain jolts my knuckles, but it's a savage, liberating moment. He reels back, cursing, and his foot slips on the wet boards. For an instant, I see panic on his face as he teeters at the edge of the pier. Then with a splash, he goes over the side, plunging into the black water. Adrenaline rips through me. I rush to the edge, peering into the swirling darkness. For a second, I consider walking away, letting him taste real fear, but the pounding in my chest gives way to alarm when he doesn't immediately surface. I kneel, searching for any sign of him. Suddenly, he bursts above the surface, sputtering. "Help!" he shouts, arms flailing. "Ethan, help me!" I curse under my breath, reach out a hand. I have no love for this man, but I can't let him drown. He manages to grab hold of the wooden piling, and I reach for his coat, hauling him closer to the pier. After a few desperate moments, he clambers back up, drenched and shaking. We both collapse onto the wet boards, rain peppering down. He coughs violently, spitting water. Then he glares at me with hatred. "You crazy bastard." I swallow, my rage suddenly tempered by the reality of nearly killing him. "Get out of here," I rasp. "We're done. Don't come near my family again." He shivers, stands unsteadily, water streaming from his clothes. He opens his mouth like he might hurl more insults, but he seems to think better of it. With a final hostile glare, he stumbles away into the darkness. I stay there, kneeling on the slick wood, heart pounding, mind reeling. Once again, I feel that disoriented sense of not knowing who I am. Did I really just punch him into the water? Part of me shakes with a grim satisfaction, my version of revenge. But there's no triumph in it, just a hollow feeling that I've stepped closer to the edge of madness. Eventually, I stand and limp back to my car, soaked and trembling. I drive home, my thoughts racing. The roads are nearly empty. Streetlights blur in the watery reflection of the windshield. Guilt gnaws at me. I let my anger consume me. I let him push me to violence. But a part of me also feels a strange relief, like something needed to break open. When I arrive, Juliet is pacing the living room, eyes red from crying. She rushes to me, anxiety etched on her face. "Oh my God, Ethan, you're soaked. Where were you?" I stare at her. Then, without a word, I step around her and sink onto the couch, dropping my coat on the floor. My hand throbs where I punched Michael. She rushes to grab a towel, kneeling beside me, pressing it to my face and hair. "Ethan," she breathes. "What happened?" "I found him," I say simply. "He talked. I punched him. He nearly drowned." She goes pale. Her hand trembles as she dabs at my wet hair. "Why?" I laugh bitterly, pushing her hand away. "Why? Because you gave him license to walk into our life. Because he wouldn't let it go." She hangs her head. "I'm so sorry." I close my eyes. I'm too exhausted to lash out anymore. The storm outside rages, but inside me, a strange calm settles. I came face to face with the man who destroyed my marriage, or maybe the man who exposed its cracks, and I realized that my real fight isn't with him. It's with myself. Whether I can be the man I was, or someone else entirely. I place a hand on Julia's shoulder, feeling her shiver. "I don't know how we're going to fix this," I whisper, "or if we even can. But I know I can't live with this constant betrayal, this fear." She nods, tears in her voice. "I'll do anything, Ethan. Anything." The next morning, I wake with a headache throbbing behind my eyes. Julia is beside me, on the couch. We must have fallen asleep there. She stirs, blinking blearily. For a moment, we just stare at each other, the tension from the previous night still tangible. Then she speaks softly. I think we should go to counseling. Together. For real. I rub my face, feeling the stubble that's grown in. I hate therapy. I know, she says. But we have to try something. For our daughter. For ourselves. I slump back, exhaling. The memory of everything floods in. Her affair, my confrontation with Michael, the near violence that overcame me. The swirl of guilt and shame is overwhelming. But the final images of him spitting out baywater, scrambling for his life, remind me that I won't let him take anything more from me. My marriage, battered as it is, belongs to me and Julia, if we choose to fight for it. That might be the only way out of this limbo. All right, I say gruffly. We'll try. She releases a shaky breath, relief mingling with tears. Thank you. In the following weeks, we take slow, tentative steps. Counseling sessions are brutal, forcing us to speak truths we've avoided for years. Julia admits she felt abandoned after my accident, while I struggle to trust her again. I talk about how I considered her my anchor, only to realize the anchor had drifted. The counselor makes us voice out loud the shame, the rage, the heartbreak. It's excruciating. More than once, I storm out of a session, swearing I'm done. But somehow, we keep coming back. There's no sudden fix. Sometimes I still picture her body with his, the image flaring up at the worst moments. She's patient, for the most part, letting me vent. Some nights, we fall asleep in separate rooms, tension crackling through the house. But other nights, we manage to talk in whispers, lying awake side by side, letting the conversation unspool like fragile thread. Eventually, the counselor suggests we take a small trip together, just a weekend away, to see if we can reconnect outside the suffocating walls of our house. Our daughter stays with Julia's mother, and we drive 2 hours to a lake cabin we rented. The first night, I stare at the still water, noticing how moonlight scatters across the surface. Julia stands beside me on the little dock, hesitating, as if unsure whether to hold my hand. I'm sorry, she whispers for the 1000th time. I exhale, the crisp night air filling my lungs. I know. I'm trying to believe you. She inches closer, and I feel her warmth against my arm. I'm trying too, she says. I can't promise miracles, but I promise to fight for us. If you'll let me. I remain quiet for a long time, letting the hush of the lake cradle us. Finally, I say, I'm not the man I was before the accident. Maybe I never will be. But if we're rebuilding, let's do it honestly. No secrets. She swallows, nodding. No secrets. The next day, we hike a little, talk about everyday things. The color of the leaves, the mild weather, the books I'm reading, the marketing campaign she's handling at work. It feels almost normal. Almost. A few times, I catch a flicker of guilt in her expression, and I wonder if she's remembering him. It stings, but I press on. We manage to laugh about some old memory from before the accident, and by the end of the weekend, though I'm not magically healed, I feel a tentative sense that we're walking towards something, however uncertain. Back home, life continues. My nightmares ease slightly. We have good days and bad days. The letter I wrote, you're free. But now, you're not my choice. Never again. I keep it tucked away in a drawer, reminding me of the day I nearly let all hope vanish. I reflect sometimes. Is it truly revenge if I choose to try again with her? Or is the real revenge finding a way to heal, leaving betrayal behind, refusing to let it define me? That question lingers as time passes. Michael never contacts us again. The rumors at her workplace die down, apparently, or shift to new gossip. I focus on my freelance writing, sometimes pouring my anguish into stories that swirl with raw honesty. I find myself writing about a man who wakes from a coma to realize his entire life is a series of illusions. Maybe that's me, exercising my demons on the page. Months later, on a crisp afternoon, I stand barefoot on our balcony again. The air is still, reminiscent of that first day I discovered her infidelity, and my chest tightens with memory. But this time, I feel a strange calm. Julia appears behind me, slipping her arms around my waist, resting her cheek against my back. I flinch a little, out of habit or fear, but then I let out a long breath and let her hold me. "Does it still hurt?" she asks softly, voice muffled against my shirt. I nod, swallowing a lump in my throat. "Yes, it does." She hugs me tighter. "I know, it might always hurt." I glance at our reflection in the sliding glass door. We look like two people who have weathered a brutal storm, exhausted but still standing. I turn slowly to face her, searching her eyes. "I'm not sure if I'll ever fully trust you again," I admit. She nods, tears shining. "I understand, but I'm here." I'm not running. A breeze ruffles our hair, the sky overhead streaked with late afternoon sun. For a long moment, we stand there, silent, letting the weight of our shared past and uncertain future settle. Then, with a tremor in my voice, I speak. "We keep going, then, day by day." She leans her forehead against mine. "Yes, day by day." I close my eyes, letting the hush wrap around us. Deep down, I still don't know who I am in the grand scheme of things. Maybe I'm just a survivor, a man who's come back from oblivion to find his life in tatters. But there's a glimmer of hope in me now. Hope that maybe, through the pain and the silence, we can forge something new. Something battered, but real. And for the first time in a long while, the emptiness inside me recedes just enough to let me breathe without trembling. The memory of her betrayal remains, lodged like a scar I'll always carry. Yet at least we're facing it, instead of hiding. Maybe that's the best I can ask for now. After all, trust can be a weapon that wounds you, but sometimes the possibility of forging a new path forward can become a shield if you choose to wield it together. I stare at her face, so familiar yet different. "You changed," I whisper, echoing my first words. "And maybe, so did I," she answers without hesitation. "We both have." My throat is tight. Then let's see who we can become. Outside, the sun breaks through the clouds, a burst of light that catches on the distant rooftops and paints the world in gold. She slips her hand into mine, and despite the pain etched into us, I hold on. Not because I've forgotten what she did, but because we both know that the only way out of the darkness is to choose, again and again, to keep going, to rediscover who we are, one breath at a time.